Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. And it's time to continue on the AZU. And what I'm going to start by doing is to do something about the seats. Because as mentioned in the previous video, it's possible to sit in the driver's seat. There is nothing to sit in the passenger seat. But the driver's seat is looking like this. And it's very scary to sit in. It's possible. But at one point, too many of the rubber bands will burst and then you will be sitting on the floor. Something needs to be done about that. And it's not really a problem to get new upholstery for these. You can get a million different colors and combinations and stuff like that. The problem is, imagine this seat with a brand new cover on it in this car. It would look very much out of place, especially since the point of this project is to keep the look of this wonderful looking car. It would look really weird with new seats in here. So it was a little bit difficult to figure out what to do about that. But I got a mail after the previous video from a guy called Peter. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, he worked as a apprentice in a airplane mechanic shop. And they had a upholstery section. And he asked them to upholster his AZU because he drove one of these back then. They did that. It was Sterling Airways, by the way. So there's already a lot of extra story put onto this car just by the upholstery. Thanks, Peter, for sending me these. As he told me in '85, he wanted some more comfortable seats in his AZU. I think especially his wife wanted some more comfy seats, but he kept these, and they are pretty much perfect for this. They are slightly smelly, but because they have been stored for a long time. But this is going to be pretty decent, I think. Oh, it's gonna look awesome. It's gonna look awesome. Thank you, Peter. Let's try to fix these seats so there's something to sit in while driving this thing. That could be nice. This is cool. And I think Peter is also pretty happy that these seats are not just kept since 1985 for no reason. Now there is suddenly a very good reason why he kept that, because this will just be perfect for this. Hopefully they will last. They could rip easy when they are that old and stored, but it looks pretty decent. And Sterling Airways workshop made these. That's also pretty cool. Firstly, I'm just going to remove all the old stuff. These springs or rubbers are not worth that much. But luckily, with the project I just bought, the 2CV project, there is a lot of extras. Hopefully there is enough. Otherwise I will have to order some more. Just gonna have to see. Some of them can maybe even be reused of these. I'm gonna make a decent pile right there and a rubbish pile over there. Look at the amount of wear into that hole. They're just stretching. Stretched holes. So I'm changing some of the rubbers, but as mentioned, I do not have enough for all of them, so I'm reusing old ones that looks all right. There's a couple of these back here I need to change. This one is very cracked. I hope the fabric will hold up once there's weight on it, because of course it's a bit dry rotted, I think is the name. There we go. The seat is on. It's still a bit dirty, but it looks all right. And let's see. It's working. It is a bit, some of the fabric down here is a bit dry rotted, but that's actually only the fabric that holds the rubbers in place, but not the tension in place. So it doesn't really matter much. And they look brilliant for this little AZU van. It's gonna fit in completely perfect. You wouldn't even notice that these are not from this car. It's just perfect. Thank you, Peter, for this. He stored these in his attic for 40 years. I don't know if he could read the future, but that was just perfect for this application. Thank you for that. Still a bit difficult to get in with my long legs. But this is brilliant. Nice, 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 nice. Nice. So what I want to do next is to actually sit in the new seats and drive this out that way and in that way and onto the lift, because then I can lift it up and do some work without having to stand like this. And that's nice. Ah, that's nice. I just need some pieces of wood to actually lift it on, because it is so shallow, the chassis. But it's on the lift now for the first time ever in my garage. That's really nice. And even though it's still the gear selector is not connected correctly, it's just flopping about in there and so on, and the brakes are very low biting, so it needs some adjustment. The engine runs really nicely. It drives really decent, to be honest. Of course, if you haven't driven one of these before, you would think everything is wrong when you drive it, because it is a bit weird. But it feels right, and that's nice. So with the car up in the air, it's much easier to work on the small bits that I still need to fiddle with. The brakes, for instance, the wiring and all that, because I can stand up, and that's really nice instead of... What I want to start with is to check the brakes. I think the brakes are just fine. They just need some adjustment. They are adjusted on the back. But I would like to take the drum off just to inspect it in there, because I don't really know how much has been done in there. So I would like to check that everything is all right. Also, the rubber boot on the drive shaft is torn, so I need to change that. So before fitting the wings, for instance, it would probably be pretty wise to do this now. As you can see, the rubber is split right there. That's an MOT fail. So I'm not completely sure how to remove these. But it's always a good attempt to just remove the screws involved in the area. And if all fails, then I will have to go look in the manual, but sometimes it's fun to just try to figure it out. There we go. The drum is off. I actually thought it would take the drive shaft off also. Apparently not. I think this is part of the flange that is bolted into the gearbox. So I'm not sure this part of it is possible to remove just like that. I think you would have to remove the axle, the nut inside the gearbox to remove this. So in order to get this out, I might have to actually undo the axle at the wheel side and then pull it in and out and then remove it all together. I think also if I just lowered the car down, it would be possible to slide this over this, because I think if this is pointing straight out, it is possible. But I still want to take it apart, because otherwise I won't be able to change that rubber. So I'm going to remove the wheel and undo the big nut on the hub nut. Hello, hub nut. And that way I can push it in and remove it, I think. And out. And then just pull this entire thing apart like that. And then remove the drum while holding this straight. It's gotta be possible. Yeah, of course it is. And yeah, there's no way to remove this without getting inside the box. But look at that, it looks brand new, so that's really good news. I was told by the previous owner that he fixed up the brakes, but you just never know how well or how it's done. Yeah, so I had to check it because it needs to get a fresh MOT. I'm going to do the same on the other side so I can inspect both of the sides. So everything in here looks just fine. So it's just a matter of adjusting it. It's probably not adjusted at all yet. So I'm going to do that once it's back together. Everything looks new and nice. I checked the other side also, but it's a bit difficult to show you guys because I can't remove the drum completely because of the exhaust. I could remove the exhaust, but it looks exactly the same back here, so I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to fit it back together and adjust the brakes. So with the drums back on both sides, now I want to adjust them. I want to do that to get less travel on the brake pedal. Otherwise you will really have to press, maybe even pump, to really get it to brake. And as I would like to demonstrate, pressing the brake right now makes it go all the way to the floor. Almost all the way to the floor. It is stopping the car though, but it just needs really a lot of pressure. To adjust it, there are two adjusters back here, one there, one there. What I need to do is to turn those until it hits the brake drum, then back it up a little and then turn it in again just before it hits the drum. I need to not stop the adjustment with a backing off motion. It needs to be a tightening motion. On this adjuster, it needs to go this way. On this adjuster over here, it needs to go this way. And what I do is to just find it and adjust it. As you can see, it's very easy to turn right now. Adjust it. Now I can't turn it anymore, so I'm just going to back it off slightly and then on again to just before it bites, like this. And do the same on this one over here. Like this. That's pretty good. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, of course. I want to inspect the rear brakes also before adjusting those. To do that, I need to remove this grease cap. Like that. And then undo this big nut. And then I need to use something that is hanging on the wall that is not just a good looking way of storing a long extension cord. Because this is a 2CV rim, which is, by the way, is slightly smaller than the AZU one, so it won't fit on the front end. But with this, I can tighten down these, and then I welded this in, and with that I can push the drum off. Like this. Ah, yeah, it looks decent in there also. But I need to make sure that the adjuster is movable. Same principle as at the front. Is this one rounded off? Damn, I think it is. But it is stuck. I'm just gonna grease it up and see if I can make it move. Yeah. This one moves. Just gonna adjust it back in. And that's the other one. The other one is slightly damaged, unfortunately. Hopefully I can make it move anyway. Hopefully I can undo it with this one. It's rounded off. I cannot really grab it with the number 14. Yeah, I got it. They gotta be brand new, these brakes, because they are painted even on the side. I guess that would burn off. I'm not even sure it will, but that's something that I've seen very often. Yeah, it's starting to drag, and I don't dare to go any further, because if it locks up, I will need to back it up and tighten it again. And it will be very, very difficult to do that. But I can feel a slight amount of resistance, so I think this is perfect. The front shoe should be easier to do. Yeah, already there, it's tight. Back up a little and tighten. That's really close. It might be a little noisy, and but we're just gonna have to see. It's way tighter now, at least. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. So with that done, let's see if the pedal is any different. I need to pump it up, of course, to begin with, to get the brake calipers to go out to the new position. But yeah, there's this amount of travel before the pedal hits the floor now. Before it was like this. So that's a huge difference. I think it will be great. And then it's this broken boot. I found another one in my stash. It's a little different, shorter, but it was fitted to a car. It's removed from a car with the same setup, so I think it will be just fine. This is an old one, because it takes a while to get a new one. And honestly, I trust an old one that is not broken more than a new one currently. The spare parts for the 2 CVs can be quite bad, some of them. There we go. The last thing that I want to address in this video is this. The bottom part of the outer skin is missing down here. I cut that off previously because of rust. So I want to make just that little patch and then paint it and try to scuff it up a bit so it looks a bit like the rest of it. I'm just going to make a small template. I cut a hole for the bolt. Almost the right size, even. Like this. Then I'm going to spin it around because I need it to be a little bit longer. I can outline it with my dirty glove. This is the end point. And this is the end point, but I need it to fold around, so I'm gonna cut that like this. Then cut this like this. And then cut it up right around there. And then this, I don't think needs to be folded around. No, that will just be spot welded onto the back piece. So this is pretty much the piece that I need to make into a piece of metal. Now I am getting ready to weld that little piece in. It's painted on the back side. I made some holes for the spot welds. And then I just want to line it up like this. And then just clean up the metal a little bit. I'm taking away as little as possible, both in terms of paint because of the look, but also because this material is so thin. Can I crank this welder even lower and still weld? Because it's still burning through even though it's really turned down. And then just the spot welds. I'm gonna crank it up for that. I'm happy with this result. This edge is covered by the bonnet. So what I want to do now is to just bend this around and then paint it. And firstly, I want to give it some zinc spray, some zinc primer, just as a protection. And that is also a very good base coat for the rest of the repair because it's almost the correct paint color actually, so that's nice. I'm gonna let that dry for a bit. And then I'm going to give it a coat of gris clair, which is supposed to be the color the car got. I'm almost happy with the zinc primer color actually. Just a very sloppy coat of paint. Then I'm going to attempt to remove the shine with a bit of wet sanding, because we don't want shine. Oh, it's hot. Go through maybe a little in some areas. I went a little bit too far some places, but that will just make it flash rust, which is great. And then I can give it a layer of over-troll oil in the end, just to protect it. But I'm happy with this result actually. It won't be very visible once the wing is on, that's for sure. It's actually starting to look like a car again. I just fitted the doors and the front wings just loosely because I'm going to put this in my storage for a couple of days because I need the room for other activities. At my storage facilities there is a lot of cats, which is a great thing because that means that there are no mice eating the wires and so on. But even though there is not a lot of upholstery in this car, I wouldn't want cat pee on those seats because that's so hard to get out. So now it's kind of closed off at least. Anyway, this will be all for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget you can support me. There's a Patreon link down below. And see you in the next one.